Vader's huge battle station, the Death Star, was lurking nearby.
It's not easy for a battle station to lurk when it's huge. Respect.
And had detected the Falcon's presence.
Let's get out of here!
Shouted Han.
Chewie, the controls aren't responding. We're caught in a tractor beam. It's pulling us right into the Death Star.
Don't ask me how I know about it.
Quick, everyone, into this secret compartment. When we land, those stormtroopers will think the ship's empty.
Unless they can scan for life forms like the bad guys did when 3PO and R2 took that escape capsule to Tatooine. Although that's not on this record, so I'm prepared to let it slide.
Meanwhile, Darth Vader was questioning Princess Leia in her prison cell.
Where is the secret rebel base?
Also, I missed your birthdays, honey. What can I buy to make it up to you?
You'll never learn that from me.
Snapped Leia.
Your cruel destruction of Alderaan has only strengthened my loyalty.
And by the way, a pony.
Vader angrily turned to leave when suddenly he stopped.
His cape was caught on a nail.
I sense a tremor in the Force. There is a presence. Yes, Obi-Wan Kenobi is here. I feel it.
Thanks for letting Leia know too. She must have thought there was no hope of rescue till now.
In the meantime, Luke, Han, and Chewbacca had come out of hiding to find Princess Leia and release her. She had expected a different rescuer.
We skipped a whole bunch here. I hope this was in the name of giving Porkins a decent backstory.
Where is Obi-Wan Kenobi?
He's trying to shut off a tractor beam so we can fly out of here.
Said Han impatiently.
Now let's move it.
Sure, I like to move it.
There go the alarms!
Shouted Luke.
Hurry!
Stormtroopers raced after them, filling the air with laser fire. Luke, Han, and Chewbacca fought back bravely, but they were hopelessly outnumbered.
Although, frankly, if they'd stood directly in front of the barrel of one of the Stormtroopers' guns, they still would have been fine.
I never bargained for this,
complained Han between blasts.
Hit for the Falcon!
Ben succeeded in shutting off the tractor beam, but his return to Han's ship was blocked by
former Member of Parliament for Surrey Heath Michael Gove,
Darth Vader.
So, we meet again, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
All these years after your mini-series.
This time, I will destroy you.
If you do, Darth, I will only grow stronger.
The two warriors lit their lightsabers. A furious battle began.
Let's just say it seemed furious in 1977 and leave it at that.
The air hummed and sparks flew as lightsabers swung and clashed. Finally, Darth's saber cut through Ben's cloaks.
I saw the same thing happen to Catherine Zeta-Jones in that Zorro movie.
But the old Jedi was no longer there. He had vanished. Luke and the others dashed aboard the Millennium Falcon as Han leaped to the controls.
Usually, he leapt at them, but this was an emergency.
Okay, Chewie, hit it!
Engines roared, and the Falcon shot out of the docking bay. Han hollered to Luke,
"Get to a laser cannon, kid! We've got 4 Imperial TIE fighters chasing us!"
Also, since we never saw Ben die in this iteration of this story, for all we know, we're abandoning him like utter cowards.
Luke, still stunned by Ben's disappearance, managed to fire the cannon repeatedly until he and Han had shot down all their pursuers.
I wish my aunt and uncle could see this, which theoretically they could.
Leia directed Han to the secret rebel base, where she turned over the stolen plans.
The Colonel's secret recipe? We were expecting the schematics of the Death Star. Thanks for very little indeed, apart from a succulent final meal, guys.
After much study, the Death Star's weak spot was found. Rebel pilots had to hit an exhaust port with their proton torpedoes, but the rebel forces were pitifully small compared to the might of the Imperial legions. The rebel commander was happy to accept Luke's help,
and he began work as head janitor that very day.
And the young warrior joined the bombing run as an X-Wing pilot. As the rebel squadron flew toward the terrible Death Star, Luke thought,
it may be an unpopular opinion, but those first 2 Fantastic Four movies are really underrated. They may not have the best storylines, but they give an accurate depiction of Marvel's first family, as envisaged by Lee and Kirby.
Even if we're not shot at, zeroing in on that tiny target will be practically impossible.
Heads up.
called the squadron leader.
TIE fighters approaching.
As the two enemies engaged, the blackness of space was lit by beams from hundreds of laser cannons.
Really noisy cannons, so loud even the vacuum of space felt obliged to let them be heard, contrary to the rules of science. It was a turning point in the life of a young Neil deGrasse Tyson.
The squadron leader spoke again.
There's the target at the end of that trench on the Death Star surface. Begin bombing run. Now.
Or, you know, whenever's convenient. We've all got lives to lead.
X-Wings skimmed the trench time and again, but either missed the target or were shot down by TIE fighters. As Luke zoomed down into the trench, he glanced over his shoulder.
How did that hook get caught on the door handle, he thought.
Oh no, it's Darth Vader, and he's right on my tail!
Vader prepared to fire. Suddenly, a familiar ship swooped down and sent Vader's fighters spinning off into space.
The Liberator from Blake 7?
Okay, kid, you're all clear.
Your test results came back, but the doctor still doesn't advise that you carry on boning your sister.
It was Han Solo and his Falcon. But the next voice Luke heard was Ben Kenobi's.
Luke, use the Force. Let it guide your actions.
It guided me into so many strip clubs when I was alive. I didn't want to go, but what could I do? The Force insisted.
Closing his eyes, Luke concentrated on the target and fired his proton torpedoes. They flew straight and true into the exhaust port. As Luke lifted away, the Death Star exploded in a dazzling ball of flame.
I still think Grand Moff Tarkin got away. Not that my theory will be proven correct, while that lawsuit about the use of Peter Cushing's likeness is still ongoing.
Luke had succeeded with Han Solo's help. Back at the Rebels' secret base, the two received a hero's welcome.
You won't read about it in the novelization, but Rebel Alliance groupies are freaks, man.
In a grand ceremony, Princess Leia placed medals around their necks, while the joyful Rebel troops looked on.
And all said, what about the hairy guy? He gets nothing? I sincerely hope they address that 40 years from now.
Luke Skywalker, the simple farm boy, had realized his dream and proved himself a leader in the Rebel cause.
I can't wait to hear what Biggs has to say about this, assuming he even exists in this version, he said to Leia later that night in bed. And that's the end of this riff of the story of Star Wars. Thanks for joining me. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like access to over 100 more riffs, including classic Doctor Who, Jason of Star Command, and the 1944 Captain America serial, subscribe on Patreon.